If you're struggling with anxiety, I want you to listen to me for a few minutes. I know what it feels like to wake up every morning and you don't know what symptom that you're going to struggle with next. The heart palpitations, the dizziness, the shortness of breath, the feelings of unreality. I struggled with every symptom in the book for 6 years. I tried everything. I tried medicine, I tried supplements, I tried talk therapy, I tried breathing techniques, I tried yoga. None of that worked. I was still stuck. They gave me relief for a short period of time, but I was still struggling with these symptoms. Doctors told me that I could only cope and manage with anxiety for the rest of my life. But my third eye, my instinct, I call my instinct my third eye because it can feel and see what your two eyes can't see. My third eye literally told me there was a way out of this. Of course, I knew how I got into the cycle, so definitely there was a way out. I went into self-development. I started reading books. I applied my knowledge of psychology that I got from uni to get out of the anxiety cycle. In this video, I want to tell you ways I recovered from anxiety, how I recovered from anxiety. What I want to talk about are not other coping techniques. I know you have tried all of those things, but you are still stuck. That's why you are watching this video. So in this video, I'm going to tell you 5 ways how I recovered from anxiety. So if you are still struggling with anxiety, you are stuck in the anxiety cycle, listen to this video to the end. If you're new here or you're seeing me for the first time, my name is Melly Albert. Albert is an ex-anxiety sufferer who uses her own experience of suffering and recovery to help others who are still struggling. Whether you're struggling with generalized anxiety disorder, social anxiety, health anxiety, panic disorder, agoraphobia, depression, OCD, you are sensitized, you are in the right place. In this channel, I share my own experience and how I was able to recover from anxiety after 6 years of being in that turmoil. If you have not yet subscribed yet, I would urge you to watch this video up to the end. If you feel like this video is valuable and you want to see more of this video on your timeline, kindly hit that subscription button. Otherwise, let's dive in. So the first way that I recovered from anxiety was educating myself on what was happening to me. Knowledge of what was happening to me removed a lot of fear that I had around anxiety. Knowledge is equal to less fear. When I first started struggling with anxiety, my first 2 symptoms were depression and feelings of unreality. I didn't understand what was happening. I went to the hospital. They were not giving me solutions to what was happening to me. So I started worrying about what was happening to me. I started obsessing about what was happening to me. And this is how the cycle is created. When you don't understand what is happening, when you don't have the knowledge of what is happening to you, you create what we call the disordered loop. Anxiety causes the symptoms. You fear, you worry, more fear, more sensitization, which means more of this symptom that you don't want. The first step to recover from anxiety is educating yourself on what is happening to you. Knowledge on anxiety. You can't recover from something that you believe is dangerous. You first of all have to lessen the fear first, is when you apply other principles of anxiety recovery. Knowledge of what was happening to me was 50% to my recovery. I understood how anxiety causes symptoms, how anxiety works, how I was keeping the anxiety cycle alive, how to recover, and my only job was now to apply. I came to understood that those symptoms that I was experiencing was caused by a sensitized nervous system. It was not my fault for me having those symptoms. They were symptoms brought by sensitization. So if you already have the knowledge, if you educate yourself on what is happening, you are halfway to recovery. And there is a thin line. There's a thin line between educating yourself on what is happening to you, educating yourself on anxiety, and being an information gatherer. You can have the knowledge of what is happening, having the knowledge of anxiety, how it manifests, how it causes symptoms, how you keep the cycle alive, how to recover. And also, there's that aspect of being an information gatherer. You have watched all of these videos, you have read books, you have gained knowledge on anxiety, but you're not applying. You have all this knowledge, but you're not applying. What's the point? Even if you're watching my videos and you're not applying, you're not taking into action what I'm talking about, then there's no need of even me making this video. What's the point? You have to apply what is being talked about in these videos, because if you don't apply, probably in the next 6 months you'll still be at the same place you are in. You'll still be stuck in despair. So if you believe that the knowledge that you have is enough, stop gathering, stop going around, watching this video, watching this TikTok, watching this YouTube. The knowledge that you have is enough. What you need to do is apply. Anxiety sufferers believe that there is this one one point that someone will say this one information that they're missing, that if they get, then they'll be able to find relief from anxiety. It doesn't work like that. There is nothing that you're lacking. You already have the information. Your job now is to apply. So educating myself on what was happening to me was a very crucial first step to me recovering from anxiety. Educating myself means knowledge, and knowledge means understanding. The second way that I recovered from anxiety was facing my fears. Face what you are afraid of. For a long time, I avoided my fears. I hid away from my fears. I ran away from my fears. Anything that gave me anxiety, whether it was an event, whether it was a situation, whether it was a perceived threat, whether it was a symptom, I avoided. A thought, I suppressed. A symptom, I tried to make it go away. As a situation, I avoided. And that's how I lived my life for years, for 6 years. When you are avoiding, whether it's a thought, whether it's a situation, whether it's an event, whether it's a perceived danger, what your brain reads into that is that symptom is dangerous, that situation is dangerous, that event is dangerous. Therefore, more anxiety when you are at that situation, when you have that thought, or when you have that specific symptom. When I learned that, I shifted my response. I started staying in situations even if they made me feel panicky. I started living my life with fear alongside me. I started going out to situations that I avoided for a very long time. Start facing whatever you are afraid of. That is the only way that you're gonna convey the message of safety to your brain. And when I say facing your fears, I don't mean that, now the fear is not there. The fear is there, but you stay in that place with the fear there. You stay in the uncomfortable situation. That is the only way to show your brain you are safe. And it is gonna be uncomfortable, especially if you are a person who has avoided for years. It is gonna be uncomfortable because you are trying to show your brain new ways. You are trying to make your brain learn new behaviors. You're doing the opposite of what anxiety wants you to do. So it's gonna be uncomfortable. But the only way to get to the other side of fear is to be uncomfortable. Hiding, running away, escaping, avoiding, those behaviors strengthen your fear patterns, and they're the ones that make your brain release more anxiety because it believes you are in danger. By dropping these behaviors, you show your brain that there was nothing dangerous in the first place, and it will stop misfiring these false alarms. So start going outside, start living your life with fear there. It's gonna be uncomfortable, but that's the only way you can convey safety to your brain. Face your fears. The third way I recovered from anxiety was accepting my symptoms. And this is the core of anxiety recovery. Calmly accepting my symptoms and continuing with my day. For a very long time, I was constantly looking for ways to stop my anxiety and get rid of how I feel. Not knowing that this trying to get rid of how I feel, trying to fix my symptoms, were the ones keeping me in the anxiety cycle. I call them second fears. Second fears is anything you try to do to try and find relief from anxiety. It includes, resisting, fighting, scanning, monitoring, judging, trying to stop, suppressing, trying to make it go away. Anything you do to try and find relief from anxiety, that's what we call second fears. So for a long time, I was trying to resist my symptoms. I was trying to fight my symptoms, not knowing that this resistance and fighting was what was keeping me with those symptoms, was what was making my nervous system sensitized. Acceptance is about allowing those symptoms to exist freely, giving them their space without adding these second fears. When you do that, you are teaching your nervous system that these symptoms are not a problem. Therefore, your brain will stop misfiring those false alarms. Those second fears are what are keeping anxiety alive. Anytime I experienced a symptom, anytime I experienced anxiety and I could feel my muscle tense, ready to resist, I could repeat in my mind, allow. Acceptance is also in bracket allowing, because sometimes people don't get the word acceptance, they confuse. So the easier word is allow. So every time I experienced a thought, every time I experienced a symptom and I feel my body gearing up to fight or resist, I could always repeat in my mind, allow. And this reduced the tension down. I could feel myself floating past the symptoms. So acceptance is the core. It is the main component of anxiety recovery, allowing those symptoms to be there as you continue with your day. If your heart is racing, allow it to race. Stop trying ways to calm it down. Allow it to race. If you feel dizzy, stop trying to stop it. Move with the dizziness. Move calmly with the dizziness. If you are having racing thoughts, stop trying to stop them. Stop trying to suppress them, argue with them, making them go away. Allow them to exist in the background. Give them their space. Thoughts come and go. The only reason why those thoughts are sticking is because you're engaging them, you're giving them attention. The difference between you and someone who is narcissized is because they allow their thoughts to come and go, but you are arguing with their thoughts, you're trying to solve them, you're trying to make them go away. That's why those thoughts are sticking. That's why those symptoms are still there. You're resisting, you're fighting. If you allow those symptoms to be there regardless, they will always dissipate, they will always fade away. The fourth way that I recovered from anxiety is when I stopped following my thoughts. I stopped believing everything my brain told me. An anxious brain is always scanning for danger. You need to understand that. And it will come up with the most bizarre thoughts, the what if thoughts, the suggestions from the brain. Those are symptoms of anxiety. Do not treat thoughts as a different entity from anxiety. They are symptoms of anxiety. And those thoughts always feel scary because they come up with an emotional charge. What if it's a heart attack? What if I lose my mind from this? What if, I go crazy from this? Those thoughts come up with emotions, and that's why you are always compelled to take action. You feel like you will only have peace when you make those thoughts right, when you solve them, when you argue with them, which is not the case. Those actions of, solving the thoughts, trying to make them go away, trying to suppress them, making them right, only makes those thoughts pop up more. When your brain sees that those are the thoughts that you're giving attention, those are the thoughts that you're engaging, it brings more of those thoughts. Those thoughts are uncomfortable because your brain wants certainty. Your brains need answers. If you're not providing those answers, it gives you more anxiety. But one thing I learned is that the anxious brain never gets satisfied. It always come up. If you solve this problem, it will always come up with another problem. So the best solution to it is to just let those thoughts come and go. Is to let those thoughts exist in the background. Treat those thoughts like a salesperson. What do you do when you have a salesperson at your door? A salesperson that you don't want to engage with. You don't engage them. You don't open the door. They just knock, knock, knock. If you don't open, they go away. But if you open the door, they will come in and they will come up with a lot of stories because you have engaged them. Treat those thoughts like that. Let them knock, but do not answer. Do not give in to those thoughts. Giving in is the reason why you are flooded with those negative, scary, repetitive, sticky thoughts. Let those thoughts come and go. Acknowledge them. Thoughts don't make anything real. Just acknowledge them and give them their space. Allow them. When you give thoughts their space, there is no attachment to them. There is no engaging to them, and therefore they will literally just dissipate. They will fade away. The fifth way that I recovered from anxiety was patience. Patience is a virtue that you learn when you recover from anxiety. You will learn patience in this anxiety journey. Pre-anxiety, I was not a patient person, but right now, even with this YouTube, the way it is taking time, pre-anxiety, I would have literally had quit a long time ago, but because of patience that I learned from anxiety, right now I'm a very patient person. You need to learn patience when trying to recover from anxiety because an overstimulated nervous system, a nervous system that has been constantly under high stress for months, for years, does not go back to baseline overnight. It does not go back to baseline in days, in a week, in a month, even 2 months. Someone who is telling you they recovered with 2 months, that person is not honest. Recovery from anxiety takes time, a lot of time. I remember waking up in the morning and constantly scanning my body, monitoring my body, checking, am I still feeling this way? Am I still having this symptom? Am I still having these thoughts? This only added pressure to my already sensitized nerves. Putting deadlines, I don't know, I want by next year, I want to be recovered from anxiety. This adds pressure to your already sensitized nerves. Therefore, more sensitization and you staying in the cycle for a very long time. Nervous system healing happens when you give nervous system its space. When you let go. Healing from anxiety is a consequence of the daily practices that you encompass in your day. Are you accepting? Are you living your life? Are you keeping yourself busy? Are you responding to anxiety? Are you facing fears? These practices are what will lead to healing. Otherwise, if you focus on, healing, I want to get to that stage, you will never be recovered. Not anytime soon. It is like trying to lose weight. When you focus on that final journey of losing weight, you will never lose that weight. Even if you walk from here to Jerusalem, you will never lose that weight. But the daily practices, being on diet, going to the gym, the consistency, you will lose that weight. So the same with the anxiety recovery. Don't focus on that, you want to get to that final stage. It is what you do now that will lead you to healing. And recovery from anxiety happens when you don't know. Me, I remember just doing the house chores, then I literally realized I haven't thought of anxiety in a week. That's when I knew, okay, I'm recovered from this thing. It will happen as a consequence when you don't even expect. Recovery will happen on its own time once you stop forcing it. Once you stop adding second fears and give your nervous system the space to heal. That way, recovery is guaranteed. If you have read Paul Levitt's book, he says you can't beat up a broken leg to heal. You literally can't. If you have read Paul David's book, I know you relate with that line. You can't just beat up a broken leg. I want you to heal. You have to give it its own space. That's the same to the nervous system. When you stop adding pressure, that's when recovery happens. If you have watched up to this point, kindly a thumbs up for this video, like this video, share this video to other people who may need it, comment down below. Which of the 5 points that I have talked about have you been incorporating to get you to the stage that you are at now? Because I know when you look back, you know you have made some progress. Look back at some 6 months ago and where you are at now. I'm sure you have made some progress if you have been incorporating what I have talked about. So out of the 5 ways that I have talked about, which one has got you to that state that you are in up to now? And also subscribe, because it helps the channel grow. If you subscribe, you're supporting the channel, and also YouTube gets to push these videos to other people who may need them. If you feel stuck and would like to have a one-on-one session with me, use this WhatsApp or this email to reach out to me. If you are someone who wants to fasten their recovery, if you want to know exactly how I recovered from anxiety, use this WhatsApp or this email to reach out to me. I also have an ebook where I talk about exactly how I recovered from anxiety and all the advice that I can give in one place. I'm gonna pin the link to that ebook in the comments. Otherwise, let's meet on the next one.